This is a slightly longer description of spinning, and spinning is a technique that can help you when you're experiencing any sort of negative emotion, really. It's an in-the-moment way of just beginning to soothe things and slow things down. So what you do is, it can work for anything. It can work for anger, for anxiety, for fear, for annoyance, for all sorts of things. I used to use it when I was feeling a bit sick, when I was doing yoga, and it worked really well for that as well. So if you've got anything really that's a protective behaviour, it's worth giving this a go. So what we do is we start by just taking a moment, perhaps closing your eyes, and just being with the feeling that you're feeling, whatever that might be. And sometimes that takes a little while, so perhaps to close your eyes and just connect with the feeling. And it might be something that's tricky to start with. You know, quite often we're so in the feeling and it can be scary, but it's okay to connect with it. It's okay. What the feeling is our nervous system, our unconscious mind, sending us a message that there's something wrong. So if you can find a way to connect with the feeling, whether it's thoughts going through your head, overthinking, whether it's your heart beating, whether it's something in your tummy. Sometimes it can be a feeling that's just all over. Perhaps it's difficult to isolate it to one simple place. But when you connected with that feeling, and you perhaps, for example, think, oh, it's in my tummy, I can really feel this in my tummy. If that feeling had a shape, what shape would it be? It might be a shape that you can give a name to, or it might just be a shape that you're aware of. When I've worked with clients, I've had people describe squiggles, I've had people describe a glow all over, a feeling of white noise almost. So perhaps it's not so much a shape for you as another sensation, but just connect with that as best you can. And if that shape or sensation had a colour, what colour would it be? Just take your time to just connect with it and be curious about what colour it might have. And then ask yourself, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it somewhere in between? Is it heavy? Is it light? Or something else? Be curious. Excuse me. Be curious about it. Be curious about its facets. And when you begin to have a bit more of an understanding of what this feeling is, its shape, its colour, its weight, its temperature, perhaps its texture, then let's give it a number. Let's work out how strong it is at the moment. So if we were to score it between 0 and 10, what would it be? So 0 is absolutely fine, all is well, and 10 is the worst it could possibly be. So just take a moment and give it a score. Maybe make a note of it, maybe you can remember it. And then we're going to start this technique of spinning. So what I want you to do is, in the best way that you know how, and you might have to practice this a few times, so if you can't do it the first time, don't worry. What I'd like you to do is, if you could imagine bringing that shape outside of you. So it's just floating in the air in front of you. And just take your time doing that. Just bringing it from the inside so that it's floating in the air in front of you. And again, be curious about it. And once it's there, what we're going to do is we're going to make that feeling just a little bit worse, just for a moment or two. And remember, you can always stop if it feels uncomfortable and you don't like this, and just stop. You can just open your eyes and go and have a cup of tea. You don't need to do this technique if it doesn't work for you. But let's give it a go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to just start spinning that shape. And if you were to spin it in a way that made the feeling worse, more intense, just up a point, maybe half a point, but just make it a little bit worse. And don't worry, it's not going to stay worse for long. But be curious about how you might spin it. And we're not looking at anything else. We're not thinking about the things that have made that feeling happen in the first place. We're just giving all of our focus to that shape just outside of us in our imagination and just spinning it. Quite often people find that by spinning it more quickly, it can make the feeling worse. That's it. And once you've got it to a place where it's, you know, a point or half a point more than it was, so if it was 6, taking it to 6.5, maybe 7, ask yourself, what did I do there? What did I do there to make it worse? Quite often people find that whatever direction they're spinning it quickly. So what I want you to do now is to realise, because you could make it worse, that shows you that you had control over that shape. So what I want you to do is just change the way you spin it. Whether you change direction, whether you begin to slow, and just play with that shape. Just still in your imagination, just floating in front of you. Perhaps slowing it, maybe changing direction and bringing it back to the number that you started from. And then perhaps bringing it a little bit lower. Just working your way to a number that feels comfortable. Maybe some of you might get so good at this that you can bring it down all the way to a 0. But if you can just bring it half a point or a point, that's really good as well. So just play. Slowing it. Wondering about, is it staying the same shape or is it perhaps altering somewhat? Is the colour changing? How can you play with it? Can you push it further away? Can you push it down? Can you push it up? What helps? Just taking your time. That's it. And what you might notice is that whilst you're doing this in your imagination, you can feel your breath slowing. You might feel the need to yawn. You might feel your muscles softening. We're all different, and the more we can practice, the easier this can become. And if it doesn't work for you, if it's not your cup of tea, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over this. It's all right. It's just a tool to have in your toolbox to help you. And if it's not for you, then that's okay. So just have a go. And when you're at a place where it just feels comfortable, then over time you can practice this. So you can do this with your eyes open. You can do it in a crowded room. No one needs to know that you're doing it. For me, when I was doing my yoga, I'd be in a whole yoga class and I'd have this, for me it was a glittery shape. It would just be gradually just floating in front of me, and it enabled me to go through the whole class feeling so much better. And I hope that that can work for you too. So don't necessarily practice it when you need it to start with. Practice it each day, just so that it becomes like second nature, like muscle memory, so that you don't have to think too hard about it. You just connect with the feeling, give it a shape, a colour, texture. Score how intense it is, bring it outside of yourself, make it worse, and then bring it down so it feels much, much better, much easier. That's it. So let me know how you do, and I hope that it works for you, and if it doesn't, then that's okay too. Take care.